Hello everyone, I'd like to share with you White Pine Council's Strategies for Retention. I believe this initiative will address Scouting's core issue of declining membership. The focus will be on membership retention. We can do this by serving our leaders more effectively, thus delivering better, more consistent programs. So let's get started. I've chosen the first slide as a graph because we've been developing our next year's budget. One common discussion is the fee we'll be charging. There have been many passionate arguments to leave the fee alone, but economics state that could not be the case. I suggest that the cost of scouting is really market-driven rather than based on organizational costs. When buying, people don't know or even want to know the actual costs. They only question the value that they acquire. As you see on this diagram, there is a range of fees that one could charge. Don't worry about the actual numbers because there are many factors that would need to be considered, such as uniforms and camping costs, handbooks, fundraising. We're looking at this from a Scout program standpoint. You'll also notice below the fees are the perceived values by the parent based on the membership cost. This value will determine whether they invest in scouting or not. This scale ranges from babysitting to extreme adventure. Again, don't fret over the actual scale being used. I'm sure you can imagine your own levels. As the fee increases by moving the bar across, the green span of expectations also increases. It's a range because of the different backgrounds, cultures, and personalities of the parents. I'd also like you to notice that as the slider moves forward, the range, or width of the green band, becomes smaller. This happens when people pay more for something. They have less tolerance for quality-related issues. In other words, they become more cost sensitive. Let's stop at around $300. The lowest scale or slider indicates what actually happens in the section. Right now, it's at the upper end of the scale, much more than what's expected and paid for. It's probably safe to say that most of the youth and parents would be happy. As we move this down into the range of expectations, and we get below the midpoint, notice it turns yellow, and some people may not feel they're getting their money's worth. This is a warning since parents and higher achieving youth may be disheartened and not return the next year. Once we slide down and it exits this band of expectations, it turns red. Now you have a dying section. To bring the youth back may prove very difficult. When in this area, people will probably be leaving mid-year and not wait until the end. So what do we do with this information? First, let's clearly define that range of expectations. We do this through the program standards. They were introduced a few years ago as a leader guideline, but now require better support. Once that is understood, marketing can educate the public using the standards. Secondly, we need to use those standards to help our leadership team deliver consistent programming. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Given that we have many dedicated individuals within our scouting movement, we need to ask, why are we declining in numbers? Mostly I'd suggest that we haven't done a good job in coordinating our efforts. What I mean is that these people could be working independently and doing a good job. I call these localized efficiencies. But in fact, if considered as a whole, they may be having little or no impact whatsoever toward retention. Another problem is the volume of distractions we encounter. Commissioners should be spending probably 80% of their time ensuring good program is delivered to the youth. My guess is that they in fact spend less than 20% of their time with this. The remaining time is distractions. You know, those little duties and issues that seem to consume all of our time, things like emailing and personality conflict, finances and bookkeeping, scheduling of events. We need to refocus our efforts back onto the program membership retention. Any initiative must house support our existing strategic directions. This slide illustrates the key element of program delivery and numerous other factors affecting it. All of these circles, peripheral circles, can end up being distractions if they aren't properly coordinated. If they are, you can achieve a much greater effect or synergy than the sum of the individual results. How to do that? My proposal is to create a new Commissioner's Quality Award system. This provides the continuity in linking all those peripheral circles back to the program delivery. The added benefit is that it also links the efforts between the different organizational levels. Best thing to do is to show you how this works. The system is built using the existing program standards. Please understand these are not individual but team awards. There are 3 levels of achievement for each section, with additional awards for groups, areas, and councils. Each award system supports the one above and below since they're so closely linked. The national members now have visibility rights to section leadership teams. Everyone's criteria are based on the needs of the level below and the expectations of the level above. This is a powerful tool communicating job expectations, especially for new leaders. It's an award system, hopefully with enough of an incentive for people to achieve higher causes. And it will be used as a standardized management tool for obtaining feedback. I guess its beauty is in its simplicity and the fact that we don't have to make major changes in our organizational structure to implement it. Here's the current program standard for Beavers. There are categories and details for each one of the expected outcomes of a good program. This is the bronze level requirements. Nothing has changed except we have introduced additional criteria for getting to the silver and gold levels. The extra qualifications listed here are arbitrary, so don't get hung up on the specifics. We'll have section experts develop these meaningful objectives. The important point is that the group commissioner will be responsible in monitoring the achievement of the qualifications, probably at their group committee meetings. The group commissioner will have their own standards, which include similar categories as the sections, but tailored to the administrating of the group. They'll be developed with the intent of supporting the sections and getting feedback to make decisions. All other levels will have standards and awards set up for the same purposes to support the section scouter. Imagine group commissioners collecting all their information and going to an area forum. Now think about how the area commissioner, through their standards, gathers this data. It immediately becomes a needs analysis for training or recognition or program and administrative mentoring. The possibilities are endless. This can continue up the organization to where this becomes a standardized scorecard for a national team. The new council commissioner checklist that's currently being developed can become the basis for their standard. So hopefully you can by now see the benefits. But to summarize, this becomes the tangible backbone of the organization. Everything else should be linked to it to remain relevant. Training, for instance, in the future, may be structured so that the modules offered use the same categories as the standards, thus a common language. This can also be true for program development, recognition, area events, and so on. So many times when commissioners are asked, how are things in your area, they can only awkwardly say, well, good or bad. This is because they have no tangible process in place to measure their effect. Can you imagine the impact of having this standards tool as a substantial part of a group committee agenda or area forum? Not only can it ignite some great discussion, but it also identifies issues that need to be dealt with. Now the service teams can take that information away and help develop procedures to resolve concern. Management committees like the CMC can then approve the procedures and later post them on the council website. Some ideas may include a budgeting process with templates, conflict resolution, a suspension process, and even event preparation procedures. Here's a quick summary of the benefits of this award system. We'd be using existing standards, so there shouldn't be a problem of adoption due to change. Yet it provides an incentive to increase the quality or level of quality in program delivery. After all, this is our core competency, so everything else should be based on it and not the other way around. With these standards in place, we'll have a benchmark to measure ourselves from the section right up to the national level. Remember, unless we support and are coordinated with program delivery, all other activities become distractions. This strategy is multi-layered, but its sole intention is to place more focus on retention through improved program delivery. In a sense, we have to align our program and the customer's expectations through better marketing, and then do what we said we'd do. We can better prepare our leadership teams by developing more consistent and measurable standards and then following up through our management of human resources. All of this from one tool. Well, there are many other aspects I'd like to include, but I think you've had enough. So thanks and have a great day.